A single dad and his 6-year-old daughter found a dying stranger bleeding out in the Oregon wilderness. What happened next didn't just save a life. It created a beautiful chaos no one saw coming. Before we continue, please tell us, where in the world are you tuning in from? We love seeing how far our stories travel. Daddy, what's that sound? 6-year-old Ariana's voice cut through the forest's morning symphony. She stopped mid-skip on the pine needle path, her small hand tightening around her father's calloused fingers. The purple wildflowers she'd been swinging in her other hand stilled against her leggings. Caleb Riley froze, every protective instinct firing at once. 20 years as an electrician had taught him to recognize danger in unexpected sounds. The wrong hum from a wire, the pop before a surge. But this wasn't electrical. This was human. Help. Somebody please. The voice was weak, female, and coming from somewhere off the main trail. Caleb's mind raced through possibilities, none of them good. They were 40 minutes into the Cascade foothills, at least 3 miles from the parking area. Stay right next to me, Ari. Hold my hand tight. Is someone hurt, Daddy? Ariana whispered, pressing against his leg. Maybe, sweetheart. We're going to check. They moved through the ferns, following the intermittent calls. 30 feet off the trail, Caleb saw her, a young woman slumped against an ancient cedar, pressing a burgundy hiking jacket against her left shoulder. Blood had already soaked through the fabric, creating a dark stain that made Caleb's stomach clench. Her blonde hair was matted with leaves and dirt, one hiking boot twisted at an angle that suggested her ankle was either broken or severely sprained. "Oh, thank God," she gasped, green eyes flooding with tears. "I've been calling for over an hour. I thought no one would come this way today."
Caleb dropped to one knee beside her, automatically positioning himself between the injured woman and Ariana. "I'm Caleb. This is my daughter, Ariana. What happened?" "Tessa," she managed, wincing as she shifted. "Tessa Quinn. There were 2 men at my campsite. They were going through my camera equipment when I came back from photographing birds. When I confronted them, one shoved me backward. I fell down the embankment." "Don't worry, lady," Ariana suddenly piped up, though she stayed behind her father. "My daddy fixes everything. He even fixed our neighbor's car once, and he's not even a car fixer." Despite her obvious pain, Tessa's lips quirked slightly. That's good to know." Caleb gently moved the blood-soaked jacket aside. The gash was deep, probably from a broken branch during the fall, but clean. It needed stitches, definitely, but the bleeding had slowed. "This looks worse than it is, but we need to get you help. Can you walk?" Tessa tried to shift her weight and cried out, "My ankle, I think it's broken." Caleb pulled out his phone. No signal, of course. He knew there was a spot about 5 minutes back where calls could get through. He'd used it before. But that meant carrying her. "Ari, remember last time when we saw those orange butterflies? By the Turtle Rock, where you called Uncle Marcus about the baseball game?" "Exactly. We're going back there. I'm going to carry you. It's not far." "You don't have to. I can try to crawl or—" "No, you can't." Caleb was already shrugging off his backpack, handing it to Ariana. "Sweetheart, can you be my special helper and carry this?" "I'm super strong, Daddy. Yesterday I carried all my books from the car all by myself."
Caleb carefully helped Tessa to her foot, then lifted her in a fireman's carry. She weighed less than some of the equipment he hauled at job sites, but she still gasped in pain at the movement. "You okay?" he asked. Just keep going," Tessa breathed. They moved slowly back toward the trail, Ariana leading the way like a tiny wilderness guide, occasionally calling back updates. "There's a route here, Daddy! Watch out for the slippery rock!" "Your daughter's amazing," Tessa murmured against his shoulder. "She has her moments," Caleb said, though pride colored his voice. "Ari, how we doing up there?" "Good, Daddy. I can see the Turtle Rock. It really does look like a turtle, doesn't it, Miss Tessa? I named it Franklin, after the turtle in my book." "Franklin's a perfect name," Tessa managed, though Caleb could feel her tensing with each step. When they reached the clearing with cell service, Caleb gently lowered Tessa against the massive boulder that did indeed resemble a turtle. His hands came away bloody, and he quickly wiped them on his jeans before Ariana could see. The 911 call was brief and efficient. The dispatcher confirmed their location, promised a rescue team within 45 minutes. Caleb relayed Tessa's injuries, the assault, the theft. Then they waited. Ariana, uncomfortable with stillness and silence, appointed herself Tessa's chief distraction officer. "Do you want to see what I made?" She carefully pulled a folded paper from her front pocket. "I drew these for—" She paused, glancing at her father. "It's okay, sweetheart," Caleb said softly. "I drew these from my mommy. Purple was her favorite color. She used to paint pictures of flowers just like these." Tessa's eyes shifted to Caleb, a question forming. "We come here every few months," he said simply, "to remember." "She's in heaven now," Ariana explained matter-of-factly, the way children do when they've processed something huge and made it small enough to carry. "She got sick when I was 3, but Daddy says she still sees my pictures because love doesn't need eyes."
"Oh, sweetheart," Tessa whispered, and Caleb wasn't sure if her tears were from pain or something else. "I'm interrupting your memorial visit," Tessa said. "I'm so sorry." "Don't," Caleb cut her off. Celeste would have been the first one to help. She always said these woods were about life, not just memory. Tessa's breathing had steadied, though Caleb noticed she kept pressing the jacket harder against her shoulder. "Your mommy sounds wonderful." She was. Ariana scooted closer to Tessa, studying her with those intense child eyes that miss nothing. "Does your shoulder hurt really bad?" "It's okay. You don't have to pretend. Daddy says it's okay to admit when things hurt. He cried when Mommy went to heaven. He cried a lot." Caleb's throat tightened. He hadn't known she remembered that. "Want to know a secret?" Ariana whispered conspiratorially. "Sometimes I still talk to Mommy, especially when I'm scared or when something really good happens. Like when I lost my first tooth, I told her all about it." "That's not a secret, baby. That's just love." The sound of approaching voices made them all look up. The rescue team had arrived faster than promised, 2 paramedics with a stretcher and full medical kit. They worked with practiced efficiency, properly cleaning and dressing Tessa's shoulder wound, immobilizing her ankle. "The men who did this," one paramedic asked while preparing an IV, "did you get a good look at them?" "Everything happened so fast," Tessa admitted, "but they took my camera bag. It had all my equipment, my laptop, everything. I'm a freelance photographer. That bag was my entire livelihood." "We'll make sure the police get a full report," the paramedic assured her. As they prepared to carry her out, Tessa reached for Caleb's hand. "Thank you, both of you. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't come along." "You would have been okay," Ariana said with the confidence only children possess, "but now you'll be okay faster. The doctors will fix you right up. They're good at fixing people. They tried really hard to fix my mommy, too." The weight of that innocent statement hung in the air for a moment. "Take care," Caleb said quietly, squeezing Tessa's hand once before letting go. "Will we see you again?" Ariana asked. Tessa looked at them both, this father and daughter who'd saved her, who were carrying their own grief through these woods, and something shifted in her expression. "I hope so. I really hope so." The letter arrived 7 weeks later on a Thursday that had started like any other. Caleb almost missed it among the bills and advertisements, but Ariana spotted the handwritten address. "Daddy, look! Someone wrote us a real letter. Nobody writes real letters anymore except Grandma." Caleb opened it carefully, Ariana bouncing beside him with curiosity. "Dear Caleb and Ariana, I've started this letter 12 times, trying to find the right words to thank you both. The doctors said if I'd been out there much longer, the wound could have become dangerously infected. The blood loss alone, well, let's just say your rescue was more critical than any of us realized that day. I know this might seem forward, but I'd really like to buy you both lunch. I'm finally walking without crutches, just a small brace now, and I have something for Ariana. Would Saturday work? With gratitude, Tessa Quinn. P.S. They caught the men who robbed me. My equipment was recovered from a pawn shop 2 towns over." "She wants to see us again," Ariana squealed. "Can we go, Daddy, please?" Caleb looked at his daughter's excited face. They'd talked about Tessa a few times since the rescue, Ariana wondering if her shoulder had healed, if she was walking yet,
if she was still taking pictures of birds. Sure, sweetheart, we can do that. The restaurant Tessa had suggested was family-friendly, with crayons and paper placemats. She was already there when they arrived, standing to greet them with only a slight favoring of her right foot. The angry pallor was gone, replaced with healthy color and a genuine smile. "Ariana!" She pulled out a wrapped package. "This is for you." Ariana unwrapped it with the careful deliberation of a child who'd been taught to save wrapping paper. Inside was a professional sketchbook and a set of colored pencils that Caleb recognized as expensive, the kind actual artists used. "Open it," Tessa encouraged. On the first page, in beautiful calligraphy, Tessa had written, "For a brave girl who helps people and makes beautiful pictures for her mommy. May you always see the world through eyes of wonder. Love, Tessa." "It's perfect," Ariana breathed, immediately pulling out a purple pencil. "Look, Daddy, it's the fancy kind, the kind that blend." "You didn't have to," Caleb started. "I wanted to," Tessa said firmly. "Besides, a little bird told me someone likes to draw." The lunch stretched to 2 hours. While Ariana tested every single pencil, creating a rainbow garden on her placemat, Tessa told them about her recovery. 3 surgeries on the ankle, she admitted. "It was worse than we thought initially, but I'm getting around fine now. Physical therapy twice a week." "That must have been expensive," Caleb said, knowing the financial burden medical bills could create. Insurance covered most of it. Plus, once they caught those men, there was victims' compensation. And honestly, she paused, watching Ariana blend yellow into orange with total concentration. "Meeting you two that day, it changed something for me." "What do you mean?" Tessa twisted her water glass, choosing her words. "I moved to Oregon to escape. My fiancé had died in a climbing accident 2 years ago. I thought if I just kept moving, kept working, stayed alone in the wilderness with my camera, I wouldn't have to feel it anymore. But then you and Ariana saved me. And while I was lying in that hospital bed, I kept thinking about what Ariana said, about how her mommy liked helping people, about being kind is never a waste of time, about a little girl who brings purple flowers to the forest, and a father who stops everything to rescue a stranger." "We did what anyone would." "No," Tessa interrupted. "You didn't. The other 2 hikers that day, they walked right past. I heard them. They heard me calling and kept going." Caleb felt anger flare in his chest. "They just left you there?" "People get scared. Or they think someone else will help, or they just don't want to get involved." She looked at Ariana, who was now drawing what appeared to be a butterfly. "But you two got involved. And it made me realize I'd been walking past my own life for 2 years." "Miss Tessa, do you like butterflies?" Ariana asked suddenly, holding up her drawing. "I love them. Actually, I'm working on a project photographing the monarch migration." "Really? Daddy, did you hear that? She photographs butterflies." Ariana turned to Tessa with shining eyes. "Mommy loved butterflies too. She painted them all the time. We have one in our living room. It's huge and orange and looks like it's flying right off the wall. I'd love to see that sometime." She then caught herself, glancing at Caleb. "I mean, if you're comfortable." Caleb found himself nodding before he had really thought about it. "Sure, maybe you could show Ariana some of your butterfly photos." Yes, yes, yes!" Ariana bounced in her seat. "Can you teach me how to take pictures, real ones, with a camera?" "I'd like that," Tessa said softly. "I'd like that very much." What started as one thank you lunch became something else entirely. Tessa would appear at the coffee shop where Caleb grabbed his morning caffeine after dropping Ariana at school. "Total coincidence," she'd say with a smile that suggested otherwise. "I was just editing photos and needed better Wi-Fi." She started joining them on their easier hikes. Not the memorial ones, Caleb wasn't ready for that, but the Saturday afternoon adventures where Ariana collected rocks and leaves and asked 1,000 questions about everything. "See how the light comes through the wings?" Tessa showed Ariana her camera's LCD screen. If you position yourself just right, the butterfly looks like it's made of stained glass. Like the windows at church. Can I try? Caleb watched them together, Tessa's patience infinite as she helped Ariana hold the heavy camera, teaching her about angles and light. Something unclenched in his chest, something that had been twisted tight for 3 years. The first time Tessa joined them for dinner, it was purely practical. She had been teaching Ariana photography at the park, and it had gotten late. You might as well stay. It's just spaghetti, nothing fancy. Daddy makes the best spaghetti, Ariana announced. He puts secret ingredients in it. It's not secret, baby. It's just extra garlic and a little sugar to cut the acidity. But Tessa stayed, and somehow it felt natural. She helped Ariana set the table while Caleb cooked, listened to Ariana's elaborate story about the classroom hamster's escape attempt, laughed at all the right moments. This is nice, Tessa said quietly while Ariana was in the bathroom. Thank you for including me. Thank you for being so good with her. She hasn't connected with anyone like this since Celeste. Yeah. 4 months after the rescue, Ariana got the flu. Nothing serious, but enough to keep her home from school for 3 days, miserable and cranky. Caleb had already missed 2 days of work when an emergency call came in, a power outage at the hospital that required all hands. He was about to call his brother when his phone rang. Tessa. I heard Ari's sick, she said. Marcus mentioned it when I ran into him at the store. Can I help? I couldn't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. I can work on my photos anywhere, and someone needs to make sure she stays hydrated and rested. An hour later, Tessa arrived with homemade chicken soup, popsicles, and a stack of nature photography books. Miss Tessa, Ariana croaked from her cocoon of blankets on the couch, I'm sick. I heard. That's why I brought butterfly books. We can look at pictures while you rest. When Caleb came home 6 hours later, exhausted and covered in dust from crawling through the hospital's ventilation system, he found them on the couch. Ariana was curled against Tessa's side, both of them looking at Tessa's laptop. We're making a book for Mommy, Ariana announced, though her voice was hoarse, with pictures of all her favorite flowers. Miss Tessa's helping me write the words. Caleb moved closer, saw the screen. They'd created a digital photo album. Pictures of lupines, wild roses, Indian paintbrush, each with a caption in Ariana's simple words. Mommy would love these because they're purple like her favorite dress. These roses smell like happiness. Daddy says Mommy painted these ones best. His throat constricted. This is beautiful, sweetheart. Miss Tessa said we could print it and leave it at Mommy's special place. Is that okay? That's perfect, baby. After Ariana fell asleep, Caleb walked Tessa to her car. Thank you, he said. Not just for today, for all of it. For being so careful with her, for respecting Celeste's memory, for not trying to be something you're not. Tessa looked up at him in the fading light. What am I trying to be? Yourself. Just Tessa. And that's exactly what we needed. She reached up, touched his cheek gently. You saved me that day, in more ways than you know. I think you might be saving us too, I admitted. They stood there for a moment, the space between them charged with possibility. Then Tessa stepped back. Ariana needs medicine again at 8, she said softly. Don't forget. I won't forget. But as she drove away, Caleb realized he wasn't thinking about medicine schedules. He was thinking about the way she'd looked holding his daughter, the way their little house had felt full again, and the way his heart had started beating a rhythm he thought was gone forever. 8 months after the rescue, everything changed with a simple bedtime question. Daddy, are you going to marry Miss Tessa? Caleb nearly dropped the book he was reading. Why would you ask that, sweetheart? Ariana fixed him with those serious 6-year-old eyes that seemed far too wise. Because you smile different when she's around, like in the old pictures with Mommy. And Miss Tessa looks at you like you're her hero, which you are because you saved her life, and she makes really good soup. Those are all very astute observations, Caleb said carefully, using a big word to buy himself time. How would you feel about that, hypothetically? What's hypothetically mean? It means pretend, like if it were to happen. Ariana considered this seriously, pulling her stuffed bunny closer. Would she live with us? That's usually how marriage works, yes. Would she still teach me photography? I imagine so. Would we still visit Mommy's special place? Always, baby. Nothing would change that. Ariana was quiet for a long moment, and Caleb could practically see the gears turning in her little head. Finally, she spoke. I think Mommy would say it's okay. She wouldn't want us to be lonely forever. And Miss Tessa isn't trying to be my new mommy. She's trying to be Miss Tessa. And that's good because we already have a mommy in heaven. So maybe, she paused, inventing a concept in real time. Maybe she could be my bonus mom, like bonus points in a game, except it's a person who loves you extra. Bonus mom? Caleb repeated, amazed at his daughter's ability to create exactly the right words for impossible situations. Yeah, it means extra special, not replacement, like how we got a bonus day off school for snow, and it didn't replace regular days, it was just extra good. You're pretty smart, you know that? I know, Ariana said matter-of-factly. So, are you going to ask her? The conversation haunted Caleb for weeks. He found himself watching Tessa with new eyes. The way she automatically knew to cut Ariana sandwiches diagonally, not straight. The way she kept purple pencils in her bag just in case Ariana wanted to draw. The way she'd learned their rhythms, their traditions, their careful dance around grief without ever stepping on the sacred spaces. You're thinking very loudly, Tessa said one evening. They were sitting on his porch while Ariana played in the yard, catching fireflies in a jar she'd decorate with glow-in-the-dark stickers. Am I? You've been different lately, since Ari was sick. Did I overstep somehow? No, you've been perfect. That's actually the... Never mind. What? He turned to her facing fully. Can I ask you something? Always. Why us? You could have just sent a thank you card and moved on. Why did you keep coming back? Tessa watched Ariana running through the grass, her laughter bright in the dimming light. My fiancé, James, when he died, everyone told me I'd find love again, that time heals all wounds, that someone else would come along. She paused. I hated them for saying it. I didn't want someone else. I wanted James. Caleb nodded. He understood that feeling intimately. But then I met you two, and you didn't try to fix me or tell me everything happens for a reason or any of that nonsense. You just let me be. Broken ankle, broken heart, and all. And Ariana, she smiled, Ariana looked at me and saw Miss Tessa who takes pictures, not tragic Tessa who lost everything. She has a way of doing that. She gets it from her dad. Tessa turned to him. You saved me that day, but not just from dying on that mountain. You saved me from disappearing into my grief. And somehow, without trying, you both made room for me in your lives without asking me to be anything but myself. I love you, Caleb said, the words escaping before he could stop them. I didn't mean to, I wasn't looking for it, but I do. I love you too. Both of you, so much it terrifies me. Why does it terrify you? Because I know what it's like to lose everything. And so do you. Caleb took her hand. But we also know what it's like to find something worth the risk. Dowdy, Miss Tessa, look! Ariana ran up, jar glowing with captured fireflies. I got 7! That's the most ever! That's amazing, sweetheart. What are you going to do with them?
Let them go, silly. They're not meant to live in jars. They're meant to fly and light up the dark. She opened the jar, and they watched the fireflies disperse into the night, tiny beacons of hope against the darkness. Out of the mouths of babes, Tessa whispered. The proposal came 2 months later, at the spot where everything had begun. Caleb had conspired with Ariana to lead Tessa there during one of their photography walks. I want to show Miss Tessa the exact spot where we found her, Ariana had said that morning, playing her part perfectly. For her photo project about full circles or whatever. Full circle narratives, Tessa corrected with a laugh. And that's actually a beautiful idea, Ari. The October day was crisp and perfect. The kind of autumn morning where the light turns everything golden. They hiked the familiar trail, Ariana chattering about school, about her best friend Lucy's new puppy, about everything and nothing. When they reached the cedar tree where they'd found Tessa, Ariana suddenly got very quiet. "This is it," she said solemnly. "This is where everything changed." Tessa looked around, and Caleb saw her reliving that day. The fear, the pain, the relief when they had appeared. "You know what Daddy says," Ariana continued. "He says sometimes the worst things that happen to us lead to the best things, like how Mommy getting sick was the worst thing, but it taught us how strong love is, and how you getting hurt was scary, but it brought us to you." She handed Tessa a small box wrapped in purple paper. "Ari, what?" "Open it!" Ariana was practically vibrating with excitement. Inside was a silver necklace with 3 charms, a butterfly, a camera, and a heart. "The butterfly is for Mommy because she's always with us. The camera is for you because you help us see beautiful things. And the heart is for all of us together." Tessa's hands shook as she lifted the necklace. "Ari, this is—" "There's more," Caleb said, dropping to one knee. Tessa gasped, one hand flying to her mouth.
"Tessa Quinn," Caleb began, pulling out a ring box. "9 months ago, you crashed into our lives, literally, and somehow made everything make sense again. You didn't try to fill the hole Celeste left. Instead, you showed us our hearts could expand, that love multiplies rather than replaces. You taught Ariana that joy can exist alongside grief. You taught me that moving forward doesn't mean forgetting. You've become part of our traditions while creating new ones. You've honored our past while giving us a future." "Will you be my bonus mom?" Ariana interrupted, too excited to let her dad finish his speech. "I invented that term myself. It means extra special family, not replacement family." Through tears and laughter, Tessa dropped to her knees to face them both. "Yes," she whispered, then louder, "Yes to both questions. Yes to everything." Ariana threw herself at Tessa while Caleb slipped the ring onto her finger, a simple solitaire that caught the light filtering through the trees. "Can I tell Lucy tomorrow? She said you and Daddy were going to get married, and I said maybe, and she said definitely, and now I can say she was right." "You can tell whoever you want, sweetheart," Tessa laughed, holding her close. "Even Mrs. Patterson at school. She always asks about you." Even Mrs. Patterson. As they walked back down the trail, Ariana between them, holding both their hands, Caleb felt something settle in his chest. Not the sharp grief he'd carried for 3 years, not the guilt he'd expected to feel, but peace. Actual peace. "You know what's crazy?" Tessa said softly. "If those men hadn't robbed me, if I hadn't fallen, if you hadn't taken this specific trail on this specific day, Mommy would say there's no such thing as accidents. She said everything happens exactly when it's supposed to, even if we don't understand why at the time." Tessa squeezed Caleb's hand over their daughter's head. Their daughter, because that's what Ariana had become to her. "Your mommy was very wise. The wisest. That's why she sent us to you." The wedding took place the following spring in a meadow not far from Celeste's memorial spot. It was small, just family and close friends, but perfect. Ariana took her flower girl duties seriously, distributing purple lupin petals with the precision of a scientist. She explained to anyone who would listen, the petals need proper spacing for optimal visual impact. Caleb's brother Marcus stood as best man, still amazed by the journey that had brought them here. "When you called me that day about finding an injured hiker, I never imagined I'd be standing here now. But watching you 3 together, it's like you were always meant to be a family." In her vows, Tessa spoke directly to Ariana first. "Ariana, my sweet bonus daughter, you taught me that love doesn't have limits, that families can form in the most unexpected ways,
I promise to honor your mother's memory, to help you keep her alive in your hearts, and to love you with everything I have, while never trying to be anything other than your Tessa. Then to Caleb, you saved my life, but more than that, you saved my soul. You showed me that grief and joy can coexist, that moving forward isn't betrayal, that love isn't finite. I promise to stand beside you to help carry your memories while we make new ones, to be your partner in all things. Caleb's vows were simpler, but no less powerful. Tessa, you entered our lives when we thought our family was complete in its brokenness. You didn't try to fix us. You just loved us exactly as we were. You've shown us that love isn't about replacing what was lost, but about having the courage to add new chapters. I promise to love you, to protect you, to make you laugh, and to never take for granted the miracle that brought you to that trail on that specific day. And I promise, Ariana added loudly, making everyone laugh and cry simultaneously, to teach you all my mom's favorite songs and to share my purple pencils and to always be your bonus daughter. When Caleb kissed Tessa, Ariana tugged on their clothes until they included her in a three-way hug, the crowd laughing and crying simultaneously. During the reception, as Ariana showed off her photography skills with Tessa's camera, capturing candid moments of joy, Caleb found himself standing beside Celeste's memorial stone. They'd stopped there before the ceremony, just the three of them, leaving Ariana's latest drawing and a photo from the engagement. "Thank you," he whispered to the stone, to the sky, to wherever Celeste might be. "Thank you for sending her to us."
A butterfly, orange and black, impossible to miss, landed on the stone at that moment, wings spread wide in the afternoon sun. It stayed for a long moment, then flew directly to where Tessa and Ariana were laughing, circled them once, and disappeared into the tree line. "Daddy," Ariana called, "come see, I got the perfect shot." He joined his girls, his wife and daughter, and looked at the camera screen. Ariana had captured Tessa mid-laugh, head thrown back, joy radiating from every line of her body. But what made the photo extraordinary was the butterfly, perfectly in frame, seeming to dance above Tessa's head like a blessing. "It's perfect, baby," he said, pulling them both close. "We should print it for our new family wall," Ariana declared, "right next to Mommy's paintings and Tessa's bird pictures." The family wall. They'd talked about it while planning how to blend their lives, not replacing Celeste's artwork, but adding to it, creating layers of love and memory and hope. 1 year later, that wall told their whole story. Celeste's paintings of the forest, capturing light and life with an artist's eye. Tessa's photographs of their adventures. Ariana's first successful butterfly photo, slightly blurry but perfect. Caleb carrying Ariana through a stream, the three of them silhouetted against a sunset. And in the center, Ariana's drawings, evolving from simple purple flowers to complex scenes. Her latest showed 3 figures walking a forest trail, with a 4th figure made of light and butterflies watching over them, all surrounded by purple flowers that seemed to glow with their own internal light. "Tell me the story again," Ariana requested one evening, curled between Caleb and Tessa on the couch. "Which story, sweetheart?" Tessa asked, though she knew. "The story of how we became a family." Caleb started, as he always did. "Well, one day, Daddy and his best girl were walking in the forest to visit Mommy," Ariana added. "To visit Mommy," he agreed, "when we heard someone calling for help." "And Daddy became a hero," Ariana interrupted. "We all became heroes," Tessa corrected gently. "Even you, my brave girl, helping a scared stranger feel safe."
"And then you kept coming back," Ariana continued the familiar narrative. "And you taught me photography and made soup when I was sick and became my bonus mom, and now we're a family." "Now we're a family," Caleb confirmed, kissing the top of Ariana's head. Later, Caleb and Tessa stood in front of the family wall, fingers interlaced. "Do you ever think about how different life would be if those men hadn't robbed you that day?" Caleb asked. "Every day, I'd probably still be hiding in the wilderness, taking pictures of things instead of living. And you? We'd still be stuck. Not moving backward, but not moving forward either. Just suspended. But now? Now we're living. Celeste always said the point of life was to keep adding chapters, not to stop reading when one ends. She sounds like she was wonderful. She was. And so are you. Different kinds of wonderful, but both exactly what this family needed when we needed it. The local newspaper eventually picked up their story, running it with the headline, "From Rescue to Romance, How a Trail Emergency Created a Family." But for Caleb, Tessa, and Ariana, the headline missed the point. It wasn't just about rescue or romance. It was about the courage to help a stranger when you're carrying your own grief. It was about a child's wisdom in creating new words for impossible situations. It was about learning that love isn't a pie with limited slices, but something that grows with each person you let into your heart. It was about purple flowers for remembrance, cameras for capturing new memories, and butterflies that appear at exactly the right moment to remind you that some things are too perfect to be coincidence. Most of all, it was about discovering that sometimes the universe has perfect timing, even when, especially when, that timing seems impossibly cruel at first. Because sometimes you have to be broken in exactly the right way to let the light in, and sometimes that light comes in the form of a stranger bleeding on a trailhead who becomes the love you never saw coming.
In their home now, 3 types of art tell their story. Celeste's paintings that captured the forest's eternal beauty, Tessa's photographs that froze moments of joy in time, and Ariana's evolving artwork that showed a family both remembering and becoming, held together by purple flowers, golden light, and the kind of love that transcends loss, time, and every logical explanation. The single dad and his daughter had indeed found a dying stranger. What they did next didn't just save her life. They all saved each other, creating a family that honored the past while embracing the future, proving that sometimes the best love stories aren't about finding your other half, but about discovering your heart is big enough to hold multiple holes. If this story reminded you that beauty can emerge from broken places, that families form in the most unexpected ways, and that helping others often means helping yourself, please subscribe and share, because somewhere out there, someone needs to hear that their next chapter might begin with the very thing that seems like an ending. Love doesn't divide, it multiplies, and sometimes it arrives on a forest trail when you least expect it, carried by a 6-year-old with purple flowers and a father brave enough to answer a call for help. That's the thing about love. It rarely arrives the way we imagine. But when it does arrive, if we're brave enough to recognize it, patient enough to nurture it, and wise enough to understand that new love doesn't diminish old love, we might just find ourselves living a story worth telling. A story of rescue that became romance, of tragedy that led to triumph, of 3 broken hearts that mended each other in the most beautiful way possible. The end. Or rather, the beginning.